And here we go, coming from you live from Studio 31 at City National Arena in Summerlin. This is Nighttime at Noon. He is Deryk Engelland. I am Brian McCormack. Jared Justice is on the other side of the glass, and of course streaming to you live across the Vegas Golden Knights social platforms. Plenty of VGK action to talk about. The Golden Knights coming off a 2-1 win last night against the Ottawa Senators. We'll break that down. We're going to hear from the general manager of the Henderson Silver Knights, Mr. Tim Speltz, catch up on some of the prospects down on the farm. And later in the show, we're also going to hear from David Quinn. He's going to join the program, the head coach of the U.S. Olympic team, and of course the former head coach of the New York Rangers as well, former coach of Jack Eichels at Boston University. So plan to get into with David Quinn as well. So a jam-packed Monday afternoon to get you through your lunch hour. Deryk, great to have you. Great to hang out, and a good VGK win last night.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was a good win. You look at Ottawa in the standings and 2-1 game, but you know how hard Ottawa works. They've been working hard. They've beat a lot of good teams this year, just with their work ethic, and they do have some young steel coming up. So it was a great game. I thought Leonard had to come up big at some key times and held the fort down, and Eichel score with 5 seconds left is always a nice touch on a guy that's just getting going, it seems like.
And that's, of course, what the fans are going to be the most interested in today is the dramatic goal by Jack Eichel with 5 seconds left to win it. And, there's a couple of different angles you can take it from, but just from the most the narrative sense that fans would want to get into, that's the kind of goal that you trade for Jack Eichel for him to score, that big goal at the big moment. So good for the VGK, but probably good for Jack Eichel as well. When you're trying to, again, feel comfortable and find your rhythm, those are probably the goals that give you a real shot in the right direction.
Yeah, and it's, like you said, he's a superstar, and that's what the Vegas fans want to see is him scoring those big moment goals, like you said, and it's good for him. The more points he gets, the better he's going to feel. That's how usually it goes for those guys. They get into a roll and start rolling, and you can see he's been off for a long time, but you already see his skill set and what he can bring to the table already coming out in his game, and it's he's going to be fun to watch.
He played just over 16 minutes last night, had 4 shots on goal. Again, his game coming back, as he's been back a little while now, but the speed is there, the shot is there, and now the timeliness is there as well. The VGK got Max Pacioretty back last night as well, and then again he jumped right back in. He had 5 shots on goal last night. He was a factor. It's going to be interesting to see, again, for the Golden Knights, no Mark Stone for the foreseeable future. Eventually the plan is to have Stone, Pacioretty, and Eichel all firing at once, but it's going to be interesting to see what the dynamic is for this offense, having the Marchessault line playing as it does, but also having Eichel and Pacioretty available simultaneously.
Yeah, you throw Stone in there too. It's hopefully he's back sooner or later so they can start building some of that chemistry. You have 2 shooters, Patch and Eichel, but I think Eichel obviously can make plays too. Not that Patch can't, but Patch is definitely more of a shoot-first guy.
You can look more for a dynamic where Eichel can set up Pacioretty than the other way around.
Yeah, and you've seen it in the first game. They're played together. They're already getting that chemistry, and Stevenson and Eichel had a little bit of chemistry. The games they were together too. So those guys, in experience that I've had, not playing with those guys, but playing on the same team, like with Crosby and stuff, it's it takes some time to figure out. Not everyone thinks the game at a high level like those elite players do. So trying to figure out what they're going to do, it takes some time.
Yeah. Now you mentioned that for the Ottawa Senators, it's a team that's struggling, and we're at the time of year where there's certain games that, if you're a team that has playoff aspirations, there's games you have to win. Of course, anyone can beat anyone on any given night, but games against Ottawa, those are games you got to find a way to get 2 points. The VGK did just that. But I think what we realize now is the way the NHL is, there aren't many bad teams in the NHL. There are struggling teams in the NHL, but we would have called Montreal a bad team just about a month ago, and that's not the case anymore. I think what we find is that teams that are struggling, for the most part, they still have the young building blocks that they're gearing their future towards. They're still there, and they're still feisty, and they can still give you trouble on any given night. And that's kind of what Ottawa is right now. Yes, they're not winning on a regular basis. They're still a tough out. They're still a team that has Kachucks and Norrises and Brandstroms that can compile a good effort on any given night, and that's what the VGK had to overcome, especially in the third period.
Yeah, it's those games are hard. They got some coming up. Philly, Buffalo, teams that are out of it. But there's, like you said, there's no easy nights because, yes, they might be out of the playoffs, but they're also now there's maybe not the whole season, but they're bearing down because they're playing for next year, contracts. They're playing, who knows, trade deadline, maybe someone wants them for a run. So they're playing for some things too. And, you can't, being a team in the playoffs, you can't take these teams lightly because they're going to come out and they're going to work because guys want jobs next year. Not everyone's locked up long term. And, if you don't bring that effort that you need every night, it's going to be tough stretches going forward here.
And with that, as you mentioned, Robin Lehner had a 39-save outing last night. He's been strong since coming back. And for the VGK, they've now won 3 of their last 4 going into this road trip, which we're going to talk about. But how important it is for the VGK as well to have Robin Lehner not only play well, but play well on nights when he has a heavy workload like that, and to kind of carry them through stretches of games.
Yeah, they're going to need it. I don't think you win in the playoffs without a goalie that's on. You can have some moments off or a game off, but for the most part, anyone that goes deep in the playoffs gets great goaltending. And like you said, Leonard's been that as of late since he's been back. He's been playing extremely well, keeping them, in a game that they could have had a couple more goals early, and he keeps them, the game tied at that point, and gives them a chance to win, and that's what you want of your goalie, especially a guy that's, he's only played a few games since he's been back.
So now the Golden Knights, they go out east and they work their way back. They're going to be in Philadelphia Tuesday, Buffalo on Thursday, which will be Jack Eichel's return to Buffalo, and that'll be interesting to keep an eye on from afar. Pittsburgh, Columbus, and then Winnipeg before they come back on St. Patrick's Day to play the Florida Panthers at T-Mobile Arena. That's going to be a trip. There's some tough teams in there, especially Pittsburgh, no question. Teams that are on that playoff bubble trying to make a push one way or the other, Winnipeg mostly, but also some teams like Philadelphia, like Buffalo, that right now, and especially in the next 2 weeks, we're going to be talking trade deadline a little bit today. Those are teams that are going to start arranging their pieces for trade deadline. Do you view a 5-game stretch like that? Is this the VGK want wins? Of course, you need wins in any game you go into. But is this a 5-game stretch where you try to where they can make a move, or is this a 5-game stretch where you're going to face some desperate teams?
You're definitely going to face some desperate teams. Like we said, there's no easy night. I think I only missed the playoffs once in my NHL career, and that year, you got to find something to play for. And, when you play those big teams or playoffs that are in the bubble, you want to take that 2 points away so maybe they don't make it, especially if it's a rival team or stuff. Or, the Knights get a lot of talk about because what have they done over the last 5 years. So teams are going to be out to steal those 2 points from them. So it's not going to be easy. You said Buffalo, Philly out of it. Pittsburgh's been really good since I think December, right? They've been one of the hottest teams,
and they've gotten Malkin back. That's only made them better, and they're probably a team. I should say probably they are a team that's in buy mode in the next 2 weeks. Yeah,
for sure. And then Columbus, I think they're still pushing. Maybe they can catch, but
Columbus, where you say desperation, Columbus is right now in a point where they're finding must-win games now.
Yeah,
kinda.
Yeah, I think they have 2 weeks to see where they're at.
Right.
And before they.
1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Yeah, exactly. See how it is. And Winnipeg's right there. That's a team that before the season I would have pegged them in the playoffs for sure with who they got there and stuff.
And they had a relatively flat loss last night, too. They're surprising. They're a little confusing because they should be
hot and cold.
Better on paper than they are.
Yeah. It's just like you'll see flashes of the games that you turn on. You got Nate and Stas there, so you kind of follow them a little bit. It seems like a week on, week off type thing. They'll have a couple good games and a couple bad. So,
and it feels like the only people from the broadcast table that aren't from Winnipeg are you and me.
Yeah, exactly. You hear a lot about that. As soon as we're downstairs at the rink, Gary's turning it to Winnipeg. I'm like, we had a good game on with the playoff teams. Winnipeg's playing Montreal. I'm like, who wants to watch that right now?
with Deryk Engelland. I'm Brian McCormack. Just to circle back to it quickly, though, again, it's going to be interesting, I think, that game on Thursday against Buffalo. And it's not just because it's the return for Jack Eichel. That's the biggest reason. That's what most of the talk will be about, and what reception he'll get, things of that nature. But also, Buffalo's very much like what Ottawa was last night. A team like, yes, they're out of it. Yes, they don't win every night, but they're good enough, or they have enough young pieces to give you a really hard time on any given night, and that has the potential to be the kind of game, especially with the added juice with the Eichel storyline, that could be a tougher battle than it would appear on paper.
Yeah, for sure. Not just Eichel coming back, but then you got Tuck and Krebs, and I think when they came back here and their reception, I was expecting to see Tucky flying around a little more than he was, and Krebs, but now that maybe they're in Buffalo, you might get those guys hyped up for that too. They want to play better than they did here, and you got a guy like Craig Anderson. I don't know if he's starting or not, but he's been a great goalie in this league for a long time, so get good goaltending, some good young guys, and good work ethic. It's not going to be an easy night.
And Alex Tuck, I'm trying to see. I feel like I saw the other day, and I don't know if I'm making this up or not. Yeah, I think he got hurt in their last game late. I think he crashed into the net or something. So I haven't seen any word of what his status was. He might have just been dinged up. We'll see if he'll be available for that game on Thursday. See if we can get any updates on that. But that's going to be an interesting one. And for the VGK again, I think it's important for them. Last night's game, getting Pacioretty back and having him be able to jump in and be a factor immediately is significant. But he and Eichel working in tandem, if the power play shapes up that way, that's going to be important, especially going into this weekend. You want the VGK to be able to have a 5-game stretch offensively where they can feel good about themselves.
Yeah. If those two are on the power play, that's a tough power play to defend. Those two shooters on both sides. It's almost throw a guy in front and just see who can get a shot away on both. They got such good shots. So, I'm excited to see the chemistry grow between those two and see them what they can do out there.
On the other end of the spectrum, we're going to have Tim Speltz on in just a minute, the GM of the Henderson Silver Knights. We have seen the VGK have to supplement some of the lower lines. Daniil Miramanov was called up last night before the game, but also we've seen plenty of Jake Lecision, Jonas Rombjerg over the last couple of weeks. How do you think they've done filling in the gaps in their bottom six? Really, throughout the season, it's been a project that they've had to do regularly, but how do you think that's worked out?
I think it's been phenomenal. You didn't... How many guys had their first NHL game this year? Yeah. Normally you have guys that have been there that you're getting the calls up and you sprinkle in the first NHL, and that seems how it usually works. But all these guys came up and they made a difference. They, you watched Lecision, Rongberg, Cotter come up,
Jones.
all those guys come up and. After a few shifts, I don't think Pete had to worry about who was out on the ice. They played against all lines and stuff, and they didn't seem out of place. So it's a great sign for the organization, knowing that those guys are coming up the pipeline.
Well, you are right. Usually the rookie lap is something that's rare, but it's been built into the program this season around the league. We're going to find out more on that topic from Tim Speltz on the other side of the break. Fans, be the first to experience a whole new era of Big West basketball. Gather your friends and pack the Dollar Loan Center in Henderson for the 2022 Hercules Tires Big West Basketball Championships presented by the Hawaiian Islands. 20 men's and women's teams take to the court March 8th through 12th, fighting to take the Big West to the next level. Order now at thedollarloancenter.com/Big West tickets, thedollarloancenter.com/Big West tickets, or call 702-645-4259, 702-645-4259 to get your seats for Big West Championship basketball today at the DLC. We will step aside. When we come back, we'll be rejoined by Henderson Silver Knights General Manager Tim Speltz. With Deryk Engelland, I'm Brian McCormack, and this is Nighttime at Noon on Fox Sports Las Vegas. Golden Knights fans, the opening of the Dollar Loan Center in Henderson is less than a month away. I should say the opening of Silver Knights hockey is less than a month away. The Dollar Loan Center for sports activities, it starts tomorrow with the Big West Basketball Championships. You're going to want to be there as history is made. All upcoming in the next few days. Visit thedollarloancenter.com, thedollarloancenter.com for all the action at the DLC. Back on Nighttime at Noon with Deryk Engelland, I'm Brian McCormack, and we are joined on the phone by Henderson Silver Knights General Manager Mr. Tim Speltz. Tim, great to have you with us. Thanks for joining.
Thanks, guys. Glad to be here.
Glad you're able to make some time for us as the Henderson Silver Knights get ready for, to continue their 6-game road trip. They'll have legs through Des Moines to face the Iowa Wild, and then they'll head out to San Diego for the first of 4 straight against the Gulls. As the calendar is turned to March, Tim, your team is still right in the middle of that Pacific Division battle. It's been a rough couple of weeks for you guys in terms of wins and losses, but how's the team been performing overall in your estimation?
Well, very encouraged by the weekend, Brian, and we only got 1 point, but I like the way we played. We were back to, I think that we established our work ethic again, and we had great compete. I think right now we're going through a few little issues, just player personnel, some guys called up, and we've always, I think, had a good next man up mentality, but at the same time, it might not give you your best lineup, but we're real comfortable that the guys that are getting an opportunity are improving, getting a chance, and we're going to be a better team at the end of the day because of it. So really happy with with the 2 games on the road and how we played. Sure wish we would have got a better result as far as wins go and points, but you mentioned a 6-game on the road, and we broke the road trip up, obviously played on the weekend, and then we'll be back to practice this week in Henderson, and then head out on the road again on Friday.
Hey, Tim, Deryk Engelland here. How's it going?
Real good. Deryk, how are you doing?
I can't complain. Trying to stay busy here. With all these, obviously the Knights injuries this year, you've had to deal with a lot of call-ups over the course of the year. Obviously, you guys have had your injuries as well. But with these call-ups, I know in my career, getting called up, some guys came down and really benefited from that, the call-up, and got better. How have the guys reacted, being up and down so much this year and in their play on the ice?
Well, for me, Deryk, that's been a real positive thing, and I alluded to the one where when a player is called up, another player on your team is going to get an opportunity, and probably a better opportunity than they've had. So that's been good for the development of our players and our team. But it's also been good the players coming back. They've come back. They're better players for being up there. I think they understand what they have to do. They understand their role. They know how competitive and how difficult it is to play in the NHL. They've brought, I think, everything that they've learned up their back, and they've been better players. So it's been beneficial for our team, not on the short term, but on the long term.
Tim, for all the players who have made their NHL debuts this year, I feel like one of the ones we almost forget about is Pavel Dorofeev, because he did it on opening night, and he's been with the HSK ever since. But he's a player that scored his team-leading 20th goal over the weekend in Ontario, and I would imagine for you guys, you have to be pleased with not just the fact that he's scoring goals, but there's a lot of different weapons that he can utilize to produce offense.
Well, you see him every game, Brian, and you're exactly right. I mean, this guy is very creative offensively. He's starting to have a lot more presence with the puck, demanding it and making sure that when he has it, it's ending up, not only in a good place, but usually a good opportunity to score. And the thing that, I think the adjustment for a European player coming over, is immense. I mean, just different everything, right? I mean, just a different culture, a different city. Just everything is new, everything is different language, and he's taken really good steps with every part of his game and every part of his life to be an NHL player and to trend that way. I think at the start of the year, teams would go after him and he'd go away a little bit. Now he's a lot more competitive. He digs in and it just shows in his numbers, and consistently every night he's an offense generator and he generates scoring chances, and it's great to see. And he's got some real good skill set. mindset, and he's learning the compete part of it. He's starting to enjoy that, and he's really digging in, and he's becoming a more complete player.
I got another guy. I was wondering, when I got to coach the Silver Knights for 2 games in the exhibition season, I was extremely impressed with Keegan Korczak at his age and his willingness to go back. He'd never hesitate to go back in the corners, and he's a young kid that still is young. But how have you seen him develop and grow over this season, the full season in the AHL?
Well, it's interesting with Keaton. He had a really good start to the season, then had an unfortunate injury in a knee injury in Stockton, and that set him back. And then with Christmas travel and the shutdown, he ended up missing a lot of hockey just because of games. We were shut down right after Christmas when he was scheduled to come back, and so he missed a stretch. And he's still, I think, on catch-up mode a little bit. Came back and then had an unfortunate back issue, missed a game, and then had a foot blocked a shot and missed a game. So he's had some tough luck as far as being available. But for us, I think we see the same things that you saw, Derek, in that he's a good athlete. He's a good skater. He's going to be he's going to be able to get to pucks. He's going to be able to move pucks, and I think that's going to be great. And that you're not going to be playing very much in your own end. But it's been a little bit of catch up for him after the injury, and he's starting to get comfortable again now.
We're talking to Silver Knights General Manager Tim Speltz. Tim, I think one of the things that's been encouraging for the development of individual players this year is we've talked so much about players going up and down to the VGK and what everyone's doing with expanded opportunities. Having said that, though, there are a lot of players who are having better statistical seasons, but doing it within the roles that they were expected to play. It's not because they're getting tons more power play time, or not only because of that, but because they're doing a better job in the role that they were given. Ben Jones is a guy who leaps out to me. He's putting up tremendous numbers offensively, but it's not because he's getting less defensive responsibility or less PK time. He's just doing more with his assignment.
Well, exactly. Ben's a guy who every time, whether it's, Jake Lasician to a call up or Jonas Ronberg to a call up or Gage Quinney hasn't been always available, with his injury situation. Ben has been a guy that has gotten the extra ice time. He's made the most of the extra ice time, and he's been a horse for us. He really has. He's been very durable. He's just played, and it just seems if there's any extra minutes, they get thrown at Ben, and he relishes the opportunity, and he's taken great steps offensively, and he hasn't forgot his role or who he is and what he does, and he's been a very effective player for us. He's one of those guys that, without naming him, but that was what I was referring to as a player that's made the most of an opportunity with other guys getting called up, and Ben's done a really good job of that.
I think you look at the goaltending situation, fans were excited about Logan Thompson for good reason. In the last month, they've gotten a more up-close look at Logan Thompson. But while he was with the VGK, again, who's going to step up and fill those minutes? Jiri Patera, who was injured last year, he's had a little more flair, a little more showmanship in his game this year, but also better results as well. It's felt like a really good few months for Jiri Patera.
He's really taken advantage of his opportunity, and I think it's come twofold. One with, LT getting called up, and then the second one with Dylan Ferguson's injury situation. He's had a chance to get some starts, and he's done a really good job in every one of his starts, and a couple of different scenarios where he had a weekend where he got called up from Fort Wayne, and he knew he was the starter for the weekend a week out, and that can be a little daunting for a young player when he knows he's the starter, and he handled it very well. So I think in his progression, his development path, it's been a great year for him. Yuri's here now with us. He's called up from Fort Wayne, and we'll see the status of him moving forward. We still are really happy that he's getting lots of starts in Fort Wayne in the East Coast League and doing a good job. And when he's been here, he's been a lot more comfortable, a lot more confident, and your point, you've seen it in his play.
Tim, before we let you go, they're going to have the hardwood down at the Dollar Loan Center this week for the Big West Basketball Championship. So the Dollar Loan Center is open for business, but it's going to be your new home starting on April 2nd. that means it's done. I'm sure you've seen it in its most recent state. How does the new home of the Henderson Silver Knights look?
Well, it's fantastic. It's a great building, and it's going to be, so good for our players to have a home rink where we've got our dressing room and our locker facilities that'll be world class, but to be able to be a part of the Henderson enthusiasm and the excitement and the Vegas Golden Knights game day and their show and the environment that's going to be there. It's going to be exciting. I had to be a chance to be there for the luncheon last week at the mayor's address, and I mean the building just presents itself so well. I mean the people of Henderson are going to be so proud, and I think Silver Knight fans are going to be very happy and very encouraged and enthusiastic to see the new building. It's going to be exciting.
HSK General Manager Tim Speltz, thanks for your time. Good luck on the rest of the trip. And I'll tell you what, you have to pack for Des Moines in March as well as San Diego. That might be the biggest challenge we have the rest of the way.
Well, San Diego's easy. You don't have to bring very many clothes there. I'm not sure what we're going to need to do for Des Moines.
Fair enough. One bathing suit will get you through the weekend at the beach. Tim, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you again real soon.
Thanks, guys.
That's Silver Knights General Manager Tim Speltz. As he and the Silver Knights get ready for the Dollar Loan Center. Have you gotten to go over there and take a tour just yet?
I have not yet. I'm excited to see it, though.
I've been over there. It's too nice for the likes of me, but I'm going to get to hang out there often enough, so good luck for me. But I'll tell you what, good motivator to get you over there, and not that you need more of a push, but Craggy Range Sports Bar and Grill is the restaurant inside of the Dollar Loan Center, open today, is my understanding. So I think you can
check it out.
Shouldn't say my understanding. It is open today. I know that, but I assume they're taking reservations or whatnot. So this is the lunch hour after all. This is what we're supposed to do, is give you the inspiration to listen to hockey talk and eat. So if get in your car, keep listening to us, but head over to Craggy Range Sports Bar and Grill and grab lunch at the DLC today. Let's take a break, Derek, but when we come back, we're going to chat a little bit about the NHL trade deadline is 2 weeks away. Lots of potential moving pieces around the league. We'll talk a little bit about who might be going and who might be looking to do some business in the weeks ahead. That's straight ahead on Nighttime at noon. Deryk Engelland, Brian McCormack here with you on Fox Sports Las Vegas. Hey, Golden Knights fans, do you need more hockey? Make sure to check out the newest team in town, the Henderson Silver Knights of the American Hockey League. You just heard from their general manager, Tim Speltz. Single-game group and mini-suite tickets for home games during the 2021-22 season are on sale now. Contact Henderson Silver Knights ticketing team at 702-645-4259, 702-645-4259, or visit hendersonsilverknights.com to learn more today. Back on Nighttime at noon from Studio 31 at City National Arena with Deryk Engelland. I'm Brian McCormack. The Vegas Golden Knights winners last night over the Ottawa Senators and now going off on a 5-game road trip, a road trip that's going to take them to Philadelphia, Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Columbus, and Winnipeg. And we just heard from Tim Speltz, the HSK, continuing their own road trip. They're going to head off for 2 in Iowa and 2 in San Diego as they get closer and closer to the end of the month and the opening of the DLC in Henderson. As we just mentioned, Craggy Range Sports Bar and Grill open today at the DLC, open for business, so stop in and be one of the first diners at the new restaurant at the DLC. So much going on, Deryk, but to broaden the scope now outside of the Vegas Valley, within and without, it's one of the more fun times of year. Shoppers have your cards out because it's trade deadline season. And I think we all get so microscoped on trade deadline day as though it's some sort of deadline spur action, so sure it is, but at the same time, if history is any indicator, they're not going to wait for the trade deadline, some of these moves to get going. We've already seen, of course, the Jack Eichel trade, probably the biggest of the year. That's taken place. Tyler Toffoli was moved. That's taken place. Still a lot of pieces out there that can move, and teams may not wait until trade deadline day 2 weeks from now to do it.
Yeah, I think the sooner the better. You know, it just gives you that player that much more time to get acclimated to the, you know, not just the team but the city, getting around just to make his life a little easier. So, it's never easy. I've never got traded. It's a lot nicer trade deadline coming up when you're not playing and don't have to worry about it. But it's a tense time of year for players. It doesn't matter who you are. It seems like, I guess there's a few guys that are pretty safe, but for the most part, everyone's, checking their phone a few extra times a day.
Is that a point of pride amongst NHL alumni? There's nothing wrong with getting traded. It means somebody wants you, but there's got to be something too, like the Never Been Traded Club.
Yeah, I don't know. I asked for one year.
No one ever wanted to give me away.
Then I just wasn't playing in my last year in Pittsburgh, so I went into Ray Shiro and he told me, he's like, I know exactly what you're here for. We'll try to get you somewhere good. I'm like, sounds good, thank you. And then injury, and then I started playing again, so they couldn't trade me.
Happy one way or the other.
It worked out. It was nice just to finish and go off after the season.
It is interesting though, because for players approaching the trade deadline, there are many different moods that a player can have. Whether they want to go or don't want to go. Someone like Claude Giroux, who probably knows he's going somewhere and frankly has had conversations with management, and in some cases management says, hey, we'll try to send you where you want to go. But you probably have some players also who are just basket cases, like just on the ice at practice looking over waiting to see if their name gets called to get off the ice. And I guess my point is, I wonder if for the player, if you're a team that wants to make the move, is there a benefit from getting a player now before that anxiety sets in versus right up against the deadline where you get a player who again is in a bit of a whirlwind when he gets to you?
Yeah, I think the last couple days maybe gets a little tense, but I don't know the exact numbers, don't quote me on this, but I'm guessing it's got to be a pretty high percentage of players that get moved know they're getting moved.
Yeah.
There's not too many that are right out of left field that are big names or anything. Like, you say Claude Giroux, and he's been in Philadelphia so long, they have the respect for him, and I don't even know if he has no trade or not, but they want to move him to where he wants to go, and that's a great respect for the player. And at the end of the day, if he goes somewhere and plays for a cup, who's not saying that he won't go right back to Philly and sign a contract come July 1. So it's kind of cool, I think, for the team to do that, and I'm sure they're looking at all options.
So who are some other? I say we could do this from a a player's perspective or a team perspective. Let's go team perspective because maybe that's a little bit easier. You can usually get a sense of who the sellers are going to be. Montreal has already already sent off Tyler Toffoli.
Yeah.
You thought there might be room for them to do some more business, maybe a guy like Josh Anderson, but now they're winning. It's not going to change the standings, but maybe it gives them a better sense of who they want to keep around for next year if some of their young kids take a leap forward. But Montreal's probably still a team that's in sell mode.
Yeah.
Arizona's in sell mode.
Yeah, well, Arizona, that's crazy. They could be top of the league, and I think they'd be in sell mode because they get rid of everyone. I don't know how
you
they're.
See Chikrin's name is in Kessel, perhaps.
How I understand Kessel, but how do you Chikrin?
The point of rebuilding is to keep the building
blocks.
blocks.
You build around a guy like that. Like he's good. Yeah, he's maybe having a little bit of off year compared to the year before, but.
He's not alone in that city
no,
right now.
Like, there's a lot of teams that'll take him all day.
And they've said the Coyotes. I think they came out earlier this week and said, we're in the business to take on contracts for draft picks. So maybe that's the majority of what they do. Because I agree, Chikrin is not someone you look to give away just for the sake of giving away. Kessel is someone that there's a team out there that he could probably help. But that's where Arizona has business. Montreal can do business. Who else out there do you think?
Buffalo's got to be in there. Buffalo, Seattle.
Seattle.
I'm sure they'll take on draft picks
right. So let's reshift it then, because as you said, Seattle. Let's go from the player perspective of guys who are out there who are attractive pieces. I think when you talk about Seattle, let's start with Mark Giordano.
Yeah, he's you knew right from the beginning of the year if they weren't in it, he was going to be a guy. He's on an expiring contract. I've read somewhere that Calgary has expressed interest in him.
Yeah.
I don't know, but he's a guy that, as a former teammate, that you want on your team, especially come playoff time. He's a absolute beast out there, and he's a great addition for any team that gets him.
And you know that Calgary's a team that's going to be looking to add. Colorado can be looking to add. I think Claude Giroux had mentioned that Colorado is a team that he would like to go to. Whether or not that can be worked out remains to be seen. But there is a lot of talent out there that can be on the move. And I'm a little surprised. I feel like earlier in the year we heard more Tomas Hertl talk than we're hearing now. Yeah. Not that it wouldn't happen, but it seemed like everyone in November was going to say, well, they should just get it over with and do it. And I feel like I haven't heard that name as much over the last couple of weeks, but maybe it's because I've just heard more Giroux talk.
Yeah,
first and foremost.
I was shocked when I started reading those rumors. That he's going to be out of there. I'm like, he's a good player. He's tough to play against. He's heavy in front of the net. And for the rumors to die down, maybe they're just getting that much closer to an extension there in San Jose. So.
Yeah. And that's what's interesting is that you have some teams that are straight sellers, some teams that are straight buyers, and again, teams that are struggling or they're in the middle of the rebuild or in the middle of tearing it all down. That's a time to sell for sure. But it does feel like there are a couple of teams that are kind of quasi in the middle. Like San Jose has now receded enough that they're in sell mode probably. But just like just like you said, Chikrin in Arizona, like Hertl isn't a guy that you sell just because you're selling. Like he's a guy you'd almost want to.
But he's also a guy that makes big money, and they got a lot of money locked up in a few players.
Right.
So that makes it tough.
You can trade Hertl. You can't trade Carlson or Burns for the tag that they have. That's true. I wonder if you're the Sharks, your rebuild really hasn't started yet even.
No, they were in it up until
right, and they haven't even being bad for a couple of years, like they haven't truly torn it down.
No, well, some of those contracts are some big ones, so it's tough to tear those ones down. They're pretty, even if they have no move clause, it's pretty safe that they're not getting dealt anytime soon.
For the goaltender market, and there are a couple of goaltenders who are out there. There's a couple of teams that want goaltending, and I think that was a conversation for the Oilers for. It has been for pretty much the entire season.
A couple of years, maybe.
Since Curtis Joseph.
Smith was good last year, wasn't he, I think?
Since Javi Bulin, maybe.
Yeah.
Smith was good last year, and Smith just hasn't been able to stay healthy too consistently this year. But the goaltender market that's out there, it starts with Marc-Andre Fleury.
Yeah.
And again, that's Chicago, I think, finds themselves in that quasi spot of they can rebuild while staying middle of the pack competitive, and that's where they are right now, where Marc-Andre Fleury is probably a player that they're making available.
Yeah, I think I think that's another guy like Giroux, where the team respects Flower as what he's done in this league, and for he's been there for a short time, but what he does for the team inside the locker room, and I can see them kind of like Giroux and Philly, that they're going to give him the respect and let him make. There's a business side too, but I think they'll give him the respect to see where and if he wants to go.
Is there a team out there that you see that Colorado can add a piece and put themselves in a good spot? Calgary the same. The Capitals maybe. Is there a team that you think has the most to gain? A team that's okay right now, but if they added the right person, could change their dynamic for the spring. Maybe take Giroux and don't put him on Colorado, put him on Boston. Does that change? I read
Florida was interested in him too. I don't know. Like I was in Pittsburgh when they traded for Iginla and Brendan Morrow, and everyone's like, oh, give him the cup, and then we got swept in the second round by Boston. So until that player's there and making a difference, it's too hard to tell. Like that team was unbelievable, but we just couldn't put everyone together and make a run.
Is there a team, and not to put you on the spot, but I do wonder if there's a team, it's not a matter of I can add one or two pieces and they win the cup, but a team that right now is probably in a position where they're not in a position to make a run in June. They're a playoff team, but they're not a push your chips to the middle table.
Yeah, I'd have to go to Edmonton if they make a couple. Their goaltending hasn't been strong. If they get a goaltender that plays well, and you got to throw in maybe a little bit more of a defensive D-man.
Yeah.
They lost Larson, who was a big part of that D-core before, and and then you have McDavid, Draisaitl up front, and Kane's been playing well there. So I would say they could they could turn their team from a playoff team to potential contender.
Who was your favorite teammate that you're on a team, you guys pick someone up at the trade deadline, and when he got there, it was just instant kismet. Like he was just one of the boys immediately. Oh,
there's lots. When Revo came, he's one of those guys. Douglas Murray, he came to Pittsburgh. I don't think I've had any bad guys come to teams. You usually when you're bringing them in, it's because you're making a run for a cup, and everyone knows we got to get got to get part of the team as soon as possible. So usually it's most of the guys are good.
Well, they just get along with you. That must be.
Yeah, maybe
Well, we've prefaced
unlikable
it, but
guy.
We know that there's going to be a lot more meat on the bone in the next couple of weeks as the trade deadline activities pick up. Well, here's something that you guys can do as you get ready for the home stretch, and that's get your tickets for the 5-game stretch run plan that the VGK have out now. You can get tickets to 5 games on the 17th against Florida, the 26th against Chicago, the 6th of April against Vancouver, 18th against New Jersey, and the 24th against San Jose. 5-game stretch run plan. Plans start for $355 per seat, and if you purchase, you get this fifth season VGK hat. That's pretty sharp, right?
Yeah, I like the V.
So get tickets to 5 games, and you can add this hat to your collection as well. Head on to goldenknights.com and you can get that today. We'll hop out. When we come back, we'll be joined on the phones by Team USA head coach David Quinn. Give us a little background on Jack Eichel and also what the Olympics were like. I'm sure he's got a few stories to tell. David Quinn on the other side of the break. Brian McCormack, Deryk Engelland here with you on Nighttime at Noon on Fox Sports Las Vegas. Final segment of Nighttime at Noon with Deryk Engelland. I'm Brian McCormack, and we're glad to be joined on the phone for this final segment by the head coach of Team USA at the Olympic Games, Mr. David Quinn. David, thanks so much for taking the time with us today. First off, David, again, you just came back from the Olympics with Team USA. Congratulations on the effort that your team put forth. How was the Olympic experience for you?
Well, it would have been a lot better experience to come home with a gold medal, but
sure.
Really just a fabulous experience. The guys, it was an incredible team, came together in a short period of time. We felt really good about, especially after the preliminary round ended after beating Germany, we thought we had a chance to do something special, and to have it end the way it did was pretty frustrating, to tell you the truth, but nonetheless, it's an incredible opportunity as a coach. Any chance you get to represent your country, it's special, but be the Olympic coach is something I'll never forget.
Well, it's certainly fun for all of us to watch, and thank you for joining us today. One of the reasons we wanted to have you on is because you've got some inside perspective on several VGK players and prospects, and one of them is Jack Eichel, who, of course, scored the game winner for the VGK last night. You had him in BU. You've coached against him. You've seen the best of Jack Eichel, and I wonder what you think he can do now that he's healthy, he's gotten the procedure he wanted done, and he's back to work, and he's playing in Las Vegas.
Yeah, I'm just so happy for Jack. I know it's been a long 14 months for him, and finally start his career back on track in an environment I think that he's really going to grow in. I don't think the hockey world has seen the best of Jack Eichel. And I didn't watch last night's game, saw the goal obviously, but got a chance to watch him against the Bruins. You need to see him starting to find his game, and I've had some conversations with him here in the last 6 weeks, and I haven't heard him this happy in a long, long time. And, when Jack's in the right mindset and he feels good about himself, I think the hockey world's going to see a special player.
With speaking of Jack, what can sorry, Deryk Engelland here. Thanks for coming on. What can fans here in Vegas? You had him. I've played against him. What can they expect to see of Jack? Over the few games he's played, you've already seen him grow from watching and seeing how special he is. But what more do you think Vegas has on tap with him?
Well, I think you're going to see just a complete player. I think Jack has continued to grow his game over the last 5-6 years in the NHL. And, but like I said, being off as long as he has, it's not an easy thing to just pick up where you left off. And, for him to be in the right mindset, like I said, I think, I don't think the hockey world has seen the best of Jack Eichel. And obviously, I've always said if no one had ever seen the game of hockey and you show up in warm-ups, and you watch warm-ups, and within the first minute, most people are going to say, who's number 9? Because he just looks different. And you could just see, people talk about his skating and his shot, but his playmaking ability, to me, is what really is underrated. And I think you're starting to see that now in Vegas. So not only does he have the ability he can take a game individually, but he's got this great ability to make other people around him better.
With David Quinn, another potential game-breaking talent that VGK fans are very excited about is Brendan Brisson. You had him in Beijing, and he had a phenomenal Olympic tournament. What did you think of Brendan Brisson up close?
Yeah, I love Brendan. He's a guy that he can do things that people can't do, and the thing I loved about him is how coachable he was, how much he wants to improve his game. You can just see, some of the things that we touched on with him early in the tournament he was trying to do throughout the tournament. And, I didn't know him well when we were going through the process of selecting the Olympic team. I obviously watched 2 or 3 of his games at Michigan, and it was just a lot of fun to watch a kid with that type of talent try to do the things that a lot of guys with skill don't try to do this early in their career. So, if I was a Vegas fan, I'd be very excited about Brendan Brisson.
Dave, it was great having you on. We had a small window to have you, so I apologize for that. But before we let you go, again, you got to coach Team USA. Do you know what's next on the horizon, your next project?
Well, no, not yet. I just, obviously, being an unemployed hockey coach in the National Hockey League, you kind of sit and hope to get back on the merry-go-round. And, obviously, being involved in the Olympic experience, even before the NHL guys decided not to go, it's kept me busy. So, getting back behind the bench in the Olympics is a unique opportunity, a special opportunity, and just going to wait for another opportunity.
You did a great job with it. We know we're going to see you again real soon. David Quinn, thanks so much for joining us on the program, and we'll hope to have you back.
Thanks, guys. Anytime.
That was David Quinn, the head coach of the U.S. Olympic team, and of course the former head coach at Boston University, the Lake Erie Monsters, the most recently the New York Rangers, and some good perspective. And as he mentioned, we probably haven't seen the best of Jack Eichel yet. In this environment, we hope that we will.
Yeah, he's you see flashes, well, not flashes, but you see what he can do out there, and I'm excited to see as more and more games get under his belt.
Deryk, a lot of fun today. Appreciate you sitting with us, sitting with me on Nighttime at Noon. Are you going to get over to the Big West this week, do you think?
No, I don't think so. My wife's going on a little girls' trip to Sedona, so I got the boys, so it'll be tough to get them round those two up for a basketball game.
All right, if they drive you too crazy in the house, we can get you tickets, so you keep them occupied. He's Deryk Engelland. I'm Brian McCormack. Thanks for joining us on this afternoon's episode of Nighttime at Noon. The Vegas Golden Knights in Philadelphia on Tuesday, in Buffalo on Thursday. And make sure you tune in for the VGK Insider Show this afternoon with Darren Millard and Ryan Wallace. See you later, everybody.